you explain just you subbing out, you hurt, you injured, you tired?
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there that I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play. So I just, just told saying I just needed a break right there.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Price Check Sports Podcast, brought to you by the In the Zone Network, where we go city to city, state to state, worldwide. Got a lot to get to in both the world of the NFL as well as the NBA. Halfway point of the NFL regular season is here. We are now 1 week through the start of the NBA season. So, lot to get to, not a whole lot of time to do it. Got to start in the NFL this week. Major injury news coming out of the city of Houston. Houston Texans have now lost Stefon Diggs for the remainder of the season as he suffered a torn ACL on Sunday. Typically, you see these non-contact injuries. They usually don't go very well, and of course, unfortunately for Stefon Diggs, did lead to a torn ACL in the end of his season. So what does this mean for the Texans? Already a team that was without Nico Collins and will continue to be without him for at least the next couple weeks. Offensively, they already weren't necessarily looking the greatest. Run game has definitely helped having Joe Mixon back, but now we're going to have to lean a lot more heavily on that run game, and then, of course, in the passing game, lean a lot more heavily on Tank Dell. Texas team that we still, they're still going to be good. They're still going to be fine here as the rest of the season plays out, but it just has not necessarily looked as great as you would think a 6-2 team would look here to start the season. And also, just if you compare them offensively to where they were last year, does not have that same look and feel. So, Texans now going to be without Diggs for the remainder of the season. He, of course, was coming into this year in a contract situation where he's going to now go into free agency next year, coming off of this injury, trying to go get some more money. So, best of luck and a speedy recovery to Stefon Diggs. Other news out of the AFC South, got the Indianapolis Colts benching quarterback Anthony Richardson, my guy. Unfortunately, just has not been a great year for Anthony Richardson, of course, all culminating on Sunday. Went 10 for 32 in that game, 2 of 15 on passing in the first half of that one. Just atrocious completion percentage. Only a 44.4% completion percentage on the season, but Sunday specifically being, kind of the worst of all of this. And then, of course, trying to tap himself out of the game mid-drive. Not the best look if you're a quarterback. So they're going to now turn to Joe Flacco as the starter in Indy. A team that I think, if you really look at it, they're already still 4-4. So not a team that is out of it by any means. I think this could actually help get them to the playoffs, especially when you look at the rest of the AFC. You look at those teams that are going to be in the mix for the 7th seed. You're talking about teams like the Colts, the Broncos. These aren't the world beaters at all. So I think the Colts have a chance to kind of hold firm, lock themselves into a playoff spot as long as Flacco can kind of tap back into the magic that we saw him have last year with the Cleveland Browns. Now, we'll talk about their upcoming game this week against the Vikings being pretty tough start to that. But all in all, I do think the Colts, given how just trash their division is behind the Texans, and again, the rest of that bottom playoff bracket of the AFC not being, great teams at all, this is going to definitely help boost their chances if Flacco plays well. So, Flacco in, Anthony Richardson out, and then, of course, you had the Ravens pull off a trade for wide receiver Deontay Johnson yesterday, getting him from the Panthers. Panthers receive a 5th-round pick. They also sent out a 6th-round pick with Deontay Johnson to Baltimore. So Ravens kind of helping bolster that passing offense. Not necessarily the move I expected them to make. Thought they might have kind of focused a little bit more in on the defensive side of things. A defensive secondary that has allowed, I believe, 20 or more 20-plus yard plays this season. Not ideal when you consider that we're only 8 weeks in, but I think that, Ravens, of course, still looking like one of the better teams in the AFC, but they definitely need to shore up the back end of that defense. Now, some of that has been injury-related, but all in all, not a defense that has limited big plays at all this season, even though their offense is obviously one of the best, if not the best, in the league right now. So Ravens trying to, just tighten up some things here as we get closer to the trade deadline. And looking ahead now to Week 9, this is that time of year in the NFL where you've seen, teams kind of separate themselves. Who are the real contenders and who are the teams that are going to just have to start looking forward to next year. Now, looking ahead at this week's slate of games, you got Thursday Night Football. We mentioned the Texans. They're going to New York to play the Jets. Again, short week coming off of the Stefon Diggs injury. Just bad vibes overall. We didn't get a chance to talk about the Jets yet, but now the Jets lost on Sunday against the Patriots. 2-6, tied for last in the AFC East. Not a good year for the Jets. Again, Robert Saleh was a scapegoat, but it looks like that team is just not going to be good this season. Bad vibes, Bowl, is kind of what I'm getting from this game here on Thursday. Now, bad vibes in the sense of injuries for the Texans and just the vibes in general in New York for the Jets. Not good right now. I would love to take the Texans in this spot, but the offensive side of the ball on the road, not really sure if they're going to necessarily get it done. But at the same time, this is a Jets defense that I think is a little bit overrated in terms of how we view them compared to what the actual stats and eye test show from them on the field. I'll take the Texans as underdogs in that one. I'll put some hair on my chest. I'll take the Texans. Let's go. Why not, right? So give me the Texans in that one tomorrow night on Amazon Prime Video. And then, of course, a Sunday's best, as we've kind of called it here week in and week out. Best game from the day slate on Sunday, as it stands right now, is Lions at Packers, NFC North battle. Biggest question surrounding this game is, will Jordan Love play? He had a little bit of a groin injury on Sunday. Thought initially that he had kind of re-aggravated that MCL injury that he had early in the season, but it turns out it was a groin injury. Right now, a little bit uncertain around whether or not he'll play. If Malik Willis is starting this game, now again, granted, I told y'all earlier this season, when in doubt, bet against Malik Willis, and then we lost. But I think this Lions team, whether Jordan Love is in or out, I think this Lions team is a juggernaut. Just plain and simple. Last few weeks, Jared Goff has been lights out for them, even though he didn't have to do much against the Titans on Sunday. It's a team that scored 7 touchdowns this past week. I believe 23 touchdowns in the last 4 games. So offense for the Lions just on a historic pace right now. Defensively, still a little bit shaky, but at the same time, they can get stops and force turnovers, which is a big thing when they need it the most. So give me the Lions in that one, whether or not Jordan Love plays. I think that offense is just too much to handle right now. Sunday Night Football, alluded to it a second ago, you got Vikings at Colts. Colts at Vikings in Minnesota. Vikings, of course, started the season unbeaten, lost a couple in a row now, including last week on Thursday Night Football against the Rams. Now, they're going to have a rest advantage in this one, of course, change at quarterback with Joe Flacco as well. Colts offense, I think, will be better, but I do think the Vikings are going to be better as a team. Now, the big thing for the Vikings, major factor for them, they did lose left tackle Christian Darrisaw for the season. So, not sure, how that's going to affect them from an offensive line standpoint. But I do think, getting the ball to Justin Jefferson, getting the ball to Aaron Jones, those playmakers on offense for the Vikings, I think, will kind of be the difference. Again, that Colts defense, very, very shaky. And I just think this is a good spot for the Vikings at home, Sunday Night Football, with the extra rest from playing on Thursday Night Football last week. So give me the Vikings in that one. And then, of course, Monday Night Football, you got Chiefs, the last remaining unbeaten team in the NFL, hosting the Tampa Bay Bucks. Team we talked about injuries. Chris Godwin out, Mike Evans out. Receiver core depleted. Their defensive secondary is depleted right now. Give me Kansas City. I think you're going to see DeAndre Hopkins kind of get his, full acclimation into the offense this week. Patrick Mahomes, of course, as a result of that, going to start picking it up a little bit. Give me the Chiefs in that one. You could probably talk me into that one being, a 10-point, 14-point type of game for the Chiefs. So those are our look ahead for the NFL this upcoming week and some predictions there. Shifting gears a little bit to the NBA. An NBA season that has gotten off to a really, really fun start. Some unexpected things happening so far in the NBA season, but I think all in all, some great basketball that we've seen so far. Now, a couple big storylines, takeaways that we, see here this first week as we now are kind of right at about 1 week exactly into the season. Of course, wouldn't be me if I didn't talk about my Lakers. But Lakers, Suns, and Cavs three teams that all went through head coaching changes in the offseason. Those coaching changes have really shown to benefit those teams here so far. You got 4 games under their belt for each team. Cavs, of course, 4-0. Now, a little bit of that is some soft schedule. They had the Pistons in there, had the Wizards in there, I believe, but did beat a New York Knicks team in New York here over the weekend. And so, Cavs, of course, biggest thing for them, 3-point percentage way up for them, 41% as a team, I believe, second in the league right now, only to the Boston Celtics, who, of course, we'll talk about in a second. So that's been kind of the biggest change for them. Kenny Atkinson got that offense a little bit more fluid, a little bit more spacing for them with how they're shooting right now. Now, the Suns and Lakers is a couple different things. Obviously, you've got the coaching changes. J.J. Redick for the Lakers, night and day difference over a guy like Darvin Ham. Coach Bud actually getting the Phoenix Suns to lock in a little bit more defensively through some of these games. But 2 stars are kind of the immediate beneficiaries so far, or I guess the biggest catalyst so far for these 2 teams' success. Anthony Davis, of course, been a madman so far this season. 32.8 points per game to start these first 4 games. Leads the league in scoring, averaging 12 rebounds, 3 assists per game to go along with it. He's been lights out. And having that offense run through him and him being the focal point of that team, I think has kind of given that Lakers team a new identity and just kind of allowed them to have a lot more structure on offense versus just standing around and kind of waiting on LeBron to create everything for everybody. Not to say that LeBron is not great, that he can't still do that at this age. You just don't want to put that burden on him. And I think JJ has kind of locked in on being able to make LeBron's job easier by empowering guys like Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, all those guys playing well right now. And surprisingly good defensively. Of course, any Anthony Davis team is going to be somewhat good defensively, but JJ being a guy I thought had a little bit more of the offensive X's and O's has definitely helped this team lock in on the defensive side of the ball as well. So, AD, biggest catalyst for the Lakers. Kevin Durant is the biggest catalyst for the Suns, averaging 29 a game right now through 4 games. He looks like vintage KD right now, and that team offensively has just been a lot more consistent, a lot more organized, having a guy like Tyus Jones at point guard. Granted, Tyus Jones isn't like a top 10 point guard in the league or a guy who's going to be like an all-star, but he is a guy that truly understands how to run an offense, how to get guys involved in the times they need to be involved the most. And you see a guy like KD, not having to do as much of the playmaking duties, being able to benefit from that the most. They got a guy like Ryan Dunn, rookie, I believe, out of Virginia, lights out defensively that I really like. Having a guy like Mason Plumlee behind Yusuf Nurkic this year, I think, has also been a major benefit for them. They were a little thin up front. I think Nurkic is still not a guy that I'm a big fan of, but I think as long as you can get the most out of him in some limited minutes while also being able to get something out of the guys behind him, definitely going to continue to benefit the Suns this year. And I was already high on the Suns, given that, I picked their over 48.5 wins. I even said bold prediction they could be as high as the second best team in the West. I still stand behind that. You came into the season where you had teams like Dallas, OKC, Minnesota, Denver kind of being talked up as the automatic top 4 in the West. I could see a world where, we'll get to Denver in a second, but Denver and, Minnesota kind of fall out of that automatic top 4 and the Lakers and Suns take those places. Now, again, Lakers, you got to see it for the rest of the season. Of course, you got to still get a full healthy AD year. You've got to get a full healthy LeBron year, but we're in kind of a position to see those 2 teams step up into that upper echelon of the West if all things continue to break right. So, Lakers, Suns, Cavs benefiting from the coaching changes. New year, same Celtics is our next takeaway. And I say same Celtics in the sense not to disparage them. This team has been lights out, of course, 4-0 to start the season, have won 3 of these 4 games by double digits, 2 of those double-digit wins by 20-plus points. They are shooting an impeccable 42.8% from three-point range. And I want to puke talking about it because, of course, I hate the Celtics, but they're clearly the best offense in the league by a mile right now. Biggest catalyst for that, of course, Jason Tatum. He's been on a tear this year, 28.5 points per game, 51% from the field, 42% from three-point range. Fixed the hitch in the jump shot and it's been lights out for everybody since then. JT, of course, madman, but that team just overall, even without Porzingis right now, Doesn't matter who's out there. It doesn't matter who they're playing against. It's looking like a W, and it's probably going to be a double-digit win. So, same Celtics. They're continuing where they picked up last year. It's weird to me because it's kind of eerily similar to the start of the season that the 2009 Celtics had. Coming off of their championship, they win a championship in 2008. The very next season, I believe they started that season 24-2 before Kevin I was going to call him Kevin Durant. Kevin Garnett got injured in Utah. That team looked like they were actually better than the team that had won the championship, and I think we're starting to kind of see this Celtics team take that same mold where you could probably argue that they're going to be better this season than they were last year, and they won 64 games last year. So Celtics, absolute juggernaut still. Very concerned for the rest of the league based on how they're shooting so far. Next up, another takeaway, Paolo Banchero. He looks like the next star to take a leap. He, of course, opened the night, gave Miami 30, and has really just been a major tear since then. Gave the Pacers a 50 nugget the other night with 13 rebounds, 9 assists, and assists shy of a triple-double there. Paolo, everything looks so much easier for him. The game is so smooth already, but he just feels like anytime he wants to go score, he's absolutely going to go do that. He's also averaging 28.5 a game right now, going along with 9.3 rebounds, 6 assists. He's been everything for the Magic, that Magic team right there behind the Celtics and Cavs in the East right now through 4 games. And I think that Magic thing can be real if he's going to continue to play at this pace. Again, another team that actually, if you watch my appearance on the Right Quality podcast, shout out to Ashley, Steven, and Miguel on that one. The Magic were one of the teams that we talked up, and primarily because of a guy like Paolo being able to take that next step and just take a leap that, you start to see for these young superstars once they get in that 21-22 range. Do they go from just being a good stats, bad team guy to being able to impact winning at a high level? And Paolo is definitely showing that right now. So love what I'm seeing out of Paolo, love what I'm seeing out of Orlando. Think that they are in a good position to be a true contender out East. Now, talked up some good things, couple teams that we need to be concerned about right now, Denver Nuggets and the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll start with Milwaukee. Offensively, they're okay. Fine, and of course, we know they're still missing Chris Middleton, but defensively, just atrocious right now. 25th in the league right now in defensive rating. No matter what the position is, no matter who the star is on the other side of them, just go ahead, count your buckets, because you can go get them. And this is crazy when you think about a team that has a guy like Giannis. You would think that they would be better defensively. Of course, with Brook Lopez, a guy that was in Defensive Player of the Year talks the last couple of years. It just seems like that age is finally hitting him. They don't have Middleton to defend wings, so it's a little bit shaky on the defensive side for them. And then offensively, while they play pretty well, they are not shooting the ball great right now. Just 33% from three-point range as a team right now, which, of course, when you think about trying to compete with a team like the Celtics in the East, not going to get it done. So a lot to figure out for the Bucks. You've already got Giannis, saying that they're a team that needs to find an identity. You would think that, this now being the first full year under Doc Rivers, that identity would have been found by now, but clearly that's not the case. So Bucks kind of struggling a little bit everywhere right now. Nuggets, now they won last night against the Brooklyn Nets. Second straight win for them after starting 0-2, but 2 overtime wins against the Nets and Raptors, 2 teams that we believe to be 2 of the worst in the league. Not really gonna instill any confidence in me in terms of how I view them. And if you just look at them from an offensive standpoint, they are not the same offensive team they've been these past couple years when they've been true championship contenders. 23rd in the league right now in effective field goal percentage. They're not shooting the 3-point ball very well. Russell Westbrook, while he basically is the reason they beat the Nets last night, has not looked great for them in their minutes. Shocker, everybody said that the Lakers were just picking on Russ, and he actually still has something in the tank. Meanwhile, you look up 2 teams later, and it's the same story. So, Russell Westbrook has not been what they necessarily have needed in the games other than last night against the Nets. Jamal Murray kind of looking like a shell of himself at this point. Same thing for Michael Porter Jr. And they just don't have the depth that they once had. They don't have the same shooting with, having guys like KCP, Bruce Brown, Jeff Green out of the building. They don't really have the pieces that are going to elevate you to true championship contention around their stars. And I'm interested to see how they look against other good teams, because we saw it their first game against the Thunder. When they play against a team at that caliber, they're going to get their doors blown off. So the Thunder, of course, exposed some things for them. I think that as you see them play other good teams in the West, that's going to be the true test of how good they can truly be this year. And they're probably going to be a team that, as we get deeper into the season, trade deadline, things like that, probably are going to need to make a move. Whether that's moving Aaron Gordon, whether that's moving Michael Porter Jr., that's probably kind of the two chess pieces you're looking at as far as how to best improve that team. I just don't know what options they have at this point. You got Nikola Jokic still playing at an MVP caliber level. He's also kind of right there in the mix, leading the league in scoring behind Anthony Davis. And so, he's doing all that he can. But at the same time, I don't know that this team is going to be equipped to go deep into the playoffs the same way the previous teams have, and I think you're going to see that play out more and more against good teams here this regular season. So definitely down on the Bucks and Nuggets. If I had to pick either of those two teams to feel better about going forward, probably would be the Bucks, given that they are going to get Chris Middleton back at some point. But it's not looking good for either of those two teams, and you kind of got to wonder, for the Bucks, at what point does Giannis get fed up? For the Nuggets, does Jokic ever just say, forget this, I've, done what I needed to do in basketball, I'm just going to go home and ride horses? Definitely some questions that are going to be coming down the pipe here for both of those teams. Now, before we go, of course, give y'all some betting picks to end with. Now, we have not done very well the last couple NFL picks we've given out, so we're going to switch gears. We did win a couple parlays here to start the NBA season, so let's try our luck there. Tonight, we're going with a 3-leg parlay. Bet of the day is going to be Jason Tatum, Paolo Banchero, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, all to score 25 or more points. Again, we talked about Jason Tatum and Paolo being on some incredible starts to the season. SGA kind of picking up where he left off. Smooth game. He's going to be able to get to 25 points, I believe, against the Spurs here tonight. And, when you look at these three guys, three of the best scorers that we have in the NBA right now, let's take our chances on them. So that 3-leg parlay, Tatum, Banchero, SGA, all to get 25 or more points, plus 230 on FanDuel currently. So that'll do it for today's show. Again, make sure to continue to like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on IG and TikTok, because, of course, now that the NBA season is back, we're going to get back into the swing of things on TikTok with our Throwback Thursday videos from last season as well. So, got to make sure that we continue to pump out the content that you guys know and love. So, till next time, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Josh Price. Check it out.